In a world that often misunderstands difference, there are those who choose to see the beauty in it. She's one of them, a woman who saw beyond the stigma, beyond the silence, and built a place where children in the autism spectrum are not only understood, but also celebrated. Through her school and her leadership with Kenya Scouts Association, she's shaping a generation that leads with compassion, inclusion, and strength. Casa Media reached out to one Ruth Garson, and we got to understand her why. Here is her story.
I hope that I can be remembered for giving voice to those who don't have a voice. That group of young people who will never come to you and say, wow, thank you. Miss, I love this, you're so nice, you're kind. I want to give voice to that one who can't do that, whose prayers mean more to me than anything else. My name is Ruth Garson. I am the last born in my family. We only two. Here at Autism Learning Center, I'm the director of the school, and I have 3 lovely children, 2 young adults, and one who's 14 years old ago. My eldest is on the autism spectrum, and I guess he's been the center of most of what I do. And actually, as I explain what I do, you'll be able to see the story and how a lot of what and who I am revolves around Paul. I also volunteer in the Kenya Scouts Association, where I serve as an assistant chief commissioner in charge of diversity and inclusion. And that's for the whole country, the whole of Kenya. So children who fall under vulnerable, that are in the vulnerable space, children who are incarcerated, we no longer call them juvenile delinquents. We call them, they're in the rehabilitation centers. We also have children who are struggling with drugs. We have children who are orphans. We have children in homes. We have children being raised with single parents. We have children being raised with grandparents, caregivers, guardians. Any child you could possibly think of that does not conform to a neurotypical family, those are the children I represent. The children with disabilities. We have children who are visually impaired. We have children who are deafblind. A group, a section of children who very little is known about them. Even in schools, if you ask someone about deafblind child, they're like, "Ay, sasa huyo anaweza soma." So we also have the autistic children, and also who are quite misunderstood. We also have those who use assistive devices. So the list is long, as you can see. So I serve in the Kenya Scouts, as I've said. I also serve in the Rotary Club, and our club is called Tumaini. And there I serve as a project director. And what I do there is to advocate for vulnerable groups. Because in Rotary, it's all about giving back to your community, identifying what the need is in your community, and seeing how best you can support them. These are not paying jobs per se. These are jobs where you talk to your friends, your neighbors, your relatives, and you tell them, okay, there's this challenge. We need to pay for some kids to take part in a competition. We need to pay for some kids. Like 2 years ago, let me go back a bit. During the COVID period, we had a whole group of children who got pregnant between the ages of 12 to 18. Now, these are children with children. And something I need you to understand, and the audience to understand, is that We who have people we employ to come and clean for us, like the way you've met my help who's helping me around here. For her to leave her home, if she had a child, there's no one looking after her child. There's no other house help to look after these other children. So these children have to take care of themselves. And these children, it was during the time of COVID where jobs were scarce, parents are looking for jobs frantically, these kids are left to their own devices. And unfortunately, some of them were raped. Some of them they had to talk to the border guys who were like, so you give me something and I give you the 50 bob you want to buy the sanitary towels. So it was a really difficult time. So I partnered with an organization called Krita. And Krita, they started in their own community. And in that community, they tried to assist the children who are there, give them a place where they could come for psychosocial therapy. And from there, we've kept this relationship. And that's part of the projects that I'm still involved in until today. We've been fortunate to have a fun day with them. So you can imagine you have a 12-year-old who gets to be a child again. They play Kati. Do you know Kati?
Yes.
That's a millennials game, Bano, and hide and seek, and all those nice bladder. Those are how we played. In fact, at some point, I was sure I was going to leave my bones on that field because, they are very agile. So they got to be just kids, and we helped them with their babies, and we had a good time. So that's what I've been doing for since I had Paul. And I had Paul when I was 24 years old, so I was very young myself. And I've tried really hard to advocate for vulnerable groups. It's not always easy because it calls for financial support. Many times there's never enough money. If you walk around my school today, you'll see that our chairs are broken. And how this happens is that some of these kids that we have are much older. They've stayed home for so long. By the time they're coming to school, it's hard for you to imagine that you can have a child who doesn't know how to sit on a chair. But not because they have a disability, because they're used to being put on the floor. So this child now comes, you're telling them, this is a safe space. You can sit anywhere you want to sit, because those are some of the things we do in the school here. It's more of a home and a school at the same time. So you get to do things that you generally will do all throughout your life. When you go to visit someone's house, you will be taken to the sitting room, you sit on the chairs, you need to eat, feed yourself, you need to carry your plate to the kitchen. We don't do that for them. They need to do it themselves. They need to be as independent as possible, because when you do everything for this child who has a disability, especially when they can be trained to do it, you are only compounding the disability for this child. And remember, this child is also growing to be an adult. And when they are adults, what happens then? No one wants to stay with them. So schooling for persons with disability is critical. And I know many families struggle, just like I also struggle with my child with special needs. We struggle because in your mind you're thinking, I have this child who is able. If I invest in Steve and Michelle, they will be able to take care of Paul. But in today's society, that is not possible. As much as they love to. Even you, when you look at yourself in your own family setup, it's hard. When you get married, you have to also chip into your family. Otherwise, you'll have a very strenuous relationship also. So this child with special needs, personally, I believe that they should be trained with job skills. It's very important. The younger they are, the better it is. So that by the time they are a young adult like my son Paul, you can see the maths he's making. You can see I have a heat press behind me. So I want to be able to print t-shirts and talk to you guys nicely so that when you have those team building activities, you give us a contract, we make you some t-shirts. That money that is raised from there, apart from giving the institution finances that continue to support and grow the institute and pay the workers that are here to support these children, it also goes a percentage towards the individual. So that by the time they are leaving, maybe 2 years, 3 years time, yeah? Like now, Paul is 24. He should now be progressing out of the institution. With special kids, there's always a little bit more time, maybe 26. By then, he should have mastered a skill that when he's living with you, he's not a burden. He can do his job, you can manage the finances, and you can take care of him, other than having someone who is totally 100% dependent on a caregiver. Yeah.
I asked her to take us back to the woman she was when she first became a mother, full of hope, expectations, and love, and then to walk us through the moment life asked her to see motherhood differently when she learned her child was autistic. Here was her response.
At the time, I was dating the dad, and we weren't really ready to have a child then, because I was in school and he was just starting work. But we had our child, and we used to stay with his mom. Our house was the SQ, so that was our first home. Just me, my son, and Albert. And you don't realize until when now the child is supposed to be having the milestones of where he can supposed to be speaking, then you're like, he's not speaking, what's going on? Then we started going out to find out what's going on with our child. Why does he bite people? Why does he hit people? Why is he so aggressive? Why is he nonverbal? Does he hear? So we started to do the check marks. You did the assessment for the hearing. We did the assessment to see if his orals, his tongue, everything is okay. Everything is fine. That is when we met a doctor at the time called Dr. Oyatsi. And Dr. Oyatsi then diagnosed Paul as being on the spectrum, autism spectrum. And at the time, there was not much information either, because even then, at the time in medicine, it wasn't a topic that was extensively covered. So we were fortunate that we went to South Africa. He was diagnosed now officially, and we started the journey where we started reading. At every one point, either of us was reading. My in-laws, my sister, my mom tried to understand autism the best she can, and then trying to translate it in vernacular to tell her church members, which always ended up coming out very wrong. And it's like it comes from a good space, because it was not a topic that was really known. And then we struggled. We really struggled. I would meet some people in the supermarket. You're a young mother. Angalia msichana hata hajui kuchunga mtoto. These small girls who have kids these days that don't know how to raise their children. They don't understand the struggles that I am going through. My child has gone and removed labels from Nakumat, an entire row. So you can imagine the workers, they are also not amused by me. So we went through that. You lose friends along the way, because when you go to your friend's house, they have organized their house. They put beautiful flowers, beautiful things. You come, you're like a hurricane. You rearrange someone's house. By the time you are leaving, even them, they can't find half the things that they had organized in their space. So, of course, you lose friends there. Church was a nightmare.
How so?
Because he would scream his head out. So we spent most of our time outside than inside, until I found a church that was okay. And he was okay to be himself. When we are praying, sometimes we find him at the pulpit with the preacher. Sometimes when people are being laid on hands, he's there also supervising the preacher. I mean, it was hilarious, traumatizing at the same time. I used to sit right next to the exit door. You know, like in an aeroplane, you have those side doors. So as guys, we had our designated spot. When he wants to run, he has an exit, and with time, he calmed down. When you came, you saw he was calm. Just after some time, he would have been pacing through the set. So I had to ask him to go upstairs.
Okay. So it's clear that at the beginning you felt quite isolated by the community. And I wonder, then what happens to Ruth's dreams that she had before the child? Because it seems the child comes with a lot of responsibility. You have to be there for them almost 24/7. What happens to your dreams?
My dream before I had Paul was actually to be a soldier, believe it or not. And we went as far as going to the barracks with my mom at Kahawa. And guys were in this hangar and were sitting to do exams. But I don't know why. I honestly have no idea why I never joined the military. Maybe they changed. My life would have been totally different then, but I guess it wasn't meant to be, because I remember my mom telling me, you should be a teacher. That's where I see your future is. And after that, I enrolled into becoming a teacher, and that's now my journey started there. I still want to go back to school. I still struggle to be able to do that because I feel like I am so torn up in so many places, and I find myself career-wise, if Paul was not with me, maybe right now I'd be a lecturer in a university, but that is not a reason why I would say that I have any regrets about Paul. No, I still have had great opportunities, even as it is. I serve on the board for the visually impaired at Kenya Institute for the Blind, and you see, those are just blessings. You know, that has been an opportunity. Maybe had I not been in that space, I would not have had that chance to serve there. And I still hope that I can go back and be a lecturer one day. I think my class will be the coolest class.
I agree. You are cool. For many parents, discovering that your child is on the autism spectrum can be overwhelming, filled with confusion, fear, grief, and so many unanswered questions. It takes immense patience, grace, and unlearning of expectations. I was curious to know how she handles parents who come to her for the first time, standing at the fragile beginning, how she walks them through those emotions and help them find clarity and hope. Here was her response.
Knowing what my personal experience and my personal journey and the terror and the heartache that I endured, I try as much as possible to always remember where I came from with them. That helps, gives me a compass, so to speak. Okay, let me explain one thing. When you have a child and you're holding this child, you've had your baby, your child is like this in your arms, the first thing in your mind are many dreams and the future for this little baby. In this child, you see dreams that you never achieved. Maybe that's why Steve is being forced to be in the military. We'll review that one later. You see this child as a doctor, an engineer, a teacher, a priest, a nun. Many things, many dreams are on this little hour-old baby. In fact, you even forget the trauma that you've just endured to have the child. You are just so happy and you feel so blessed. Then someone comes and tells you, Mama, your child has a disability. No, my child doesn't have a disability, doctor. The hands, the legs are fine. because the perception is when you have a disability, either you'll use a wheelchair, a white cane, and if you see the signage that we are given at National Disability Council, what does it have? It has a wheelchair. That's when I go to park my car in that disability corner, I have to look down, because how do I explain? It's not me, it is my child. And these are the small benefits I get from my government. I don't pay for my parking. Anyway, back to what I'm trying to say. Those dreams, when they are shattered like that, you grieve. You're grieving someone who is alive. I am grieving the dreams I had for my son. I am grieving that he will never be an astronaut. He will never be a doctor. Those dreams that you had. So that time, remember, this person hasn't gone for counseling. They've had no one to talk to them. And depending on the family you come from also matters. If you come from a family that is quick to ask you, mtoto, hizi tutabia ako nazo, are they from the father side? Or are they from the mother side? Everyone is quick to blame. Yeah? And I'm interchanging Kiswahili and English because this is how the people you meet in the community here, they want to understand. Is it when you are pregnant, you refuse to help someone, so someone cursed you? We come from a community where we have so many cultures and so many taboos and so many things that you get only to learn when you have a child with disability. Now you can imagine for someone like myself who is mixed race, who I never grew up with those cultures and taboos. I just know, just be a good person, be godly, be kind, take care of people, be respectful, say please, thank you, excuse me. Those are the things I know. These are the things of who looked at who badly. I learned later when my child is now growing up and missing those milestones. So when you have this parent and you remember all this in your mind, you now start talking to them and let them be the ones to ask you the questions. Give them open-ended questions, support them, allow them to cry, allow them to say crazy things that may sound like they don't care about their child or they're blaming. So it's okay, let them talk. Let it keep coming out, and then slowly help them see that it's not their fault. It's not the child's fault. And yes, this child is also growing. And depending on how the initial support is given, determines a lot how the outcome of this child will be when they are adults. Remember, I advocate for this child to be in school as young as possible, so that where we can correct, we start correcting early. Where we can make them independent, we try and strive to do that.
Children and young adults on the autism spectrum can learn practical life and vocational skills that significantly support independence and later employment. Research shows that targeted life skills instructions, including real-world practice of daily tasks like household chores, personal hygiene, job-related skills, money handling, and social interaction, is linked with better independence and employment outcomes later in life.
Autism is a spectrum. We have mild, we have in the middle, and we have extreme. If you are mild, autism is about your social skills, the way you interact with people, and your peculiarities in some things that you may like or not like, or you do. You may be nonverbal and also still be mild, but it's considered severe when you're nonverbal, like my son. But you can see my son can do things for himself. He's fairly independent. He may not express himself, but he can do things for himself. I'm always proud to talk about my student who is a great success story. Her name is Jerry. And Jerry, as we speak today, is in a regular school, doing very well. And she did well because she was never limited to a you're autistic. You can't learn maths. You're autistic. You can't learn how to spell. When we started with her, we used to learn from the corridor, not because we didn't have our carpet. We had our magic carpet. We didn't have furniture, but we had our carpet. So we'd learn where the child is ready to learn. I know that sounds crazy. We would learn in the kitchen. When we got a table, we used to learn on top of the table. We have chairs that time. We would learn on top of the table. Because what was my focus? My focus was this child needs to find a way to communicate, needs to find a way to learn how to read, needs to learn, to be able to have skill sets that will eventually translate to this child being independent. Jerry's a very smart girl. She left here when she was 11 years old. And I'm always so proud to say she was able to calculate vectors. If you are in a maths class and you struggled in maths and vectors sounded like, what would you call it? Astronaut level maths. She was able to do it. And that could not be done had she not been pushed to be the best she can be. Algebra, she could do algebra. She could spell. And how do we know that a child like her can spell? We used movable letters. We would put them on the floor, and that's how she did her spelling. That's how she built sentences, by arranging letters. So I had very many blocks, wooden blocks to build her spelling with.
Beautiful. Lovely. We'd like to meet Jerry, if possible.
I'll talk to their parents.
Okay.
They're lovely.
Yeah. So when we were talking before the camera started rolling, you mentioned about a certain carpet and broken chairs, which I would say were challenges, some of the challenges you faced when you were beginning the school. Take me through some of other of these challenges and how you maneuvered around them.
This school was started not because we planned to have a school. My son outgrew the school he was in, and I needed something for him to do. And he was 18, no skills, nothing. So I got a consultancy job in Congo, Bukavu. And in between that, some parents call me and tell me, you know what, you're going to have to start a school. I was like, well, where I live, I don't see that happening. They told me, you have to move. So I told them, okay, I've gotten a job for a short period, and I'm going to Bukavu. Actually, my flight is on Wednesday. They said, it's fine, you go do you. But you coming back to start the school. So see, schools in Kenya start in January. I started in March. Because I had to look for a house, come back, resettle. And when we came here initially, it was a forest, because for some reason, no one had lived in this house for a really long time. We even had snakes.
What?
I'm serious. Snakes here, rats, you name it. It was quite the zoo. So we had to clean the place, get ready. And you remember March 3rd, 2018, we opened.
Okay. And
we had 5 students.
Already? You are doing so well.
The 5 parents are waiting. What else do you need? We can bring you a chair. Like, it's fine. So we started with the first school fees was what was used to do some basic things and get a teacher who would work with the students. And we got block boards. We made it into a square, gave it some some legs, cross, and that became our first table. And then we got now the chairs that we are sitting on, and that's how we started now, pole, slowly. A friend of mine came from the UK. I was like, oh my goodness, it's so cold, it's July, these kids can't be in this floor. We have to get them a carpet. I'm looking at him like, do you know how much a carpet is? Where's our money coming from? It's like, don't worry, I'll get you carpets. They came here, had 4 carpets. It's just that they're out, they need to be washed. So that's how we started. And slowly. Then we got the sofas. Oh dear. That was Taekwondo 101.
How so?
I cannot explain how one of the chairs looks like a flower pot because everything that was inside the chair has been removed outside. So that's the next project now. I'll fix the chairs again and then I want to get a workbench where we are so that it doubles up as where they can eat and where they can do their vocational jobs, like when they're doing their beadwork, when we are printing our t-shirts, it doubles up as everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
And clearly, it seems community has really helped you to grow this place. Even it has helped you from the beginning. You said your mother started to, start reading around what autism means to better help you help the child. So clearly, community is needed and makes things easier, would you say?
Yes, that is, it's critical. You have to have a support system. If you're on your own, it's not possible. The nights become very long and the shadows of the night keep you awake. The grief that you have is heightened in the night because you keep thinking and rethinking and wondering where you possibly have gone wrong. What did you eat wrong? What did you do? All those things manifest a lot at night. But when you have a support system, by dawn, someone else is encouraging you and telling you, no, it's going to be okay. If you need to rest, come to my place. I remember there was a time a friend of mine told me, you know what you can do for yourself? Go to a coffee shop, sit down and buy yourself coffee and what do you call it? It's the chocolate cake. You can imagine how much calories are those. They call it death by chocolate. So go and indulge in something, something that makes you happy. Go watch a movie, meet some friends, go have lunch. That one time you're with them, do not talk about autism. Do not talk about anything about your child. Do something that gives you happiness and, peace. And I started doing that slowly. At first it felt ridiculous. I'm leaving my house to go and have coffee. I can make coffee here.
Expensive coffee.
I was like,
overpriced coffee.
I have my cappuccino machine. I can have cappuccino if I want. But I was like, no. Then I realized actually it's pretty nice. Then I started including my children. So one week I'll take Paul. It's Paul and I to do our activity together. Because now the kids are also developing a resentment. How is it that Paul gets away with things and the rest of us, you're so hard on us? So we started having our own dates individually. And it's something that we've done over the years. It's just part of who we are now. So like now we want to go and see the museum where what do they call it? Where they do images.
Museum of Illusion.
Yes, we are going for that with my daughter. I've been told Thursday, that's what we are doing. It's like, it's fine, it's okay. Steve will be like, oh, let's go for lunch or something. Yeah, it's fine.
And that's beautiful. And I wish you all the best in this parenting thing.
Thank you.
Now, let's talk about the curriculum. I would like to know, and maybe for the viewers who maybe have a child at home who would like to come to your school, how do you come up with this curriculum? What does it include? Maybe shed some light in that.
Okay, so initially I tried to focus on the British curriculum. In time, I have learned to be flexible to accommodate the transition of the child. Because with special kids, we have what we call an individual education plan. We focus on the core subjects, math, science, and English. Then we incorporate the other subjects based on the ability of the child. Because in between those three subjects, we also have psychosocial therapy going on. We have occupational therapy happening, physiotherapy sometimes, speech therapy, some cases. This child has more therapy sessions and some of the academic, functional academics. For some, functional academics will just be the functional maths, functional literacy, and these other job skills training. When they are very young is when we focus on a lot of, we have to balance between maths, English, science, those subjects. And I found the British curriculum to be easier. But now with the new curriculum, it's fine. We also incorporate that for the children. But now that depends on this individual child again. We have children who, like Njeri now, worked towards a mainstream school. So you also go and interact with the school. Look at the subjects this child is going to be learning and now start weaning that child into a mainstream school. So that means more bulk in academics. Then we also look at a child like my son Paul, who is not going to be academically inclined. Paul, other than writing his name, that's all he can do. But Paul is able to do jobs. So we focus on a job skill for this individual. Yeah. So it depends on the child. And South Africa has a whole, I got a lot of resources from South Africa that I have used with my learners, like Paul. They even have hairdressing, mechanics, all kinds of things. But you see, we also have this now here in Kenya. It's there through the TVET program. Right now, Paul can join a TVET institution and get training.
I love that. And as we wind up, yes, when you think about your legacy,
Wow.
what is it looking like? What would you like to be remembered for?
That's a tough one. It's not considered the norm to praise yourself or to want to highlight yourself. I guess for me, I hope that I can be remembered for giving voice to those who don't have a voice. That group of young people who will never come to you and say, wow, thank you. Miss, I love this. You're so nice. You're kind. No, I want to give voice to that one who can't do that, whose prayers mean more to me than anything else.
From her story, we're reminded that purpose isn't always found in grand gestures. Sometimes it's in the quiet courage to serve, to nurture, and to see potential where others see limits. She didn't wait for the world to understand. She chose to make understanding her mission. And that is the heart of the why. Women honoring their yesterdays and changing our tomorrows.